Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another scary story with you. Today's story is about a boy named Kamlesh who used to live in a village in India. Kamlesh had ancestral land in his village where a court case was ongoing between his father's brother and Kamlesh. Due to this, Kamlesh had no rights over that land. His father had passed away a few years ago, leaving Kamlesh as the sole earner in the family, along with his mother. Jobs were scarce in the village, so Kamlesh had to think about his future. He was also preparing for government exams. For this, he needed to study, but not all facilities were available in the village. His mother said, "Son, go to the city, prepare for a government job there, and I will manage things here. Don't worry, everything is normal here, and life will go on as usual. I'll make do with what we have." So Kamlesh left his village and shifted to the city. In the city, he was preparing for his exams, but living in the city required expenses that he couldn't get from his home. Since his mother was alone at home and not financially capable of supporting Kamlesh's expenses, he started working at a petrol pump. He had tried various jobs, but none were willing to hire him. Finally, he found a job refueling at a petrol pump, and he was happy that it gave him the opportunity to focus on his studies as well. He was attempting various government exams for the past 3 years, but so far he hadn't cleared any of them. One day, Kamlesh was standing at the same petrol station, refueling a car. He was waiting for the fuel meter inside the car to start running after attaching the fuel nozzle to the car's inlet. Suddenly, his attention was caught by a very beautiful girl standing outside the boundary of the petrol station, who happened to be watching Kamlesh. With Kamlesh's athletic build, he was a dark and handsome type of guy with an attractive appearance. So Kamlesh was looking at that girl, and he saw that she was standing there staring at him. Even she wasn't so far away that she couldn't see him in his eyes. As Kamlesh's eyes met the girl's eyes, he was completely drawn into her. Suddenly, the clicking sound of the refilling nozzle was heard. He turned around to see, and the nozzle was closed. He removed the nozzle and placed it back on the meter. Then he turned around again to look at the girl, but she had disappeared from there. Then he looked around the petrol pump from all sides. The petrol pump had an open space outside. Even if someone walks or runs from there, it would be easy to see them. Then Kamlesh quickly freed the car and went outside to see, but there was no one there. Then he looked around to see who that girl was. She seemed very attractive to Kamlesh, but he didn't see her anywhere. He then returned to his work, but now her face kept appearing in his mind repeatedly. He couldn't understand why he couldn't get her out of his head, despite having seen many girls before. However, something about that girl kept lingering in his mind, and he couldn't shake it off. Anyway, he finished his work and reached home. After reaching home, he ate dinner, and all night he kept thinking about that girl, unaware of when he fell asleep. The next day, he had a bike, and the distance from the petrol pump to his room would be around 4 kilometers. So Kamlesh took out his bike from his room, and while going towards his petrol pump, he stopped there because of the red light on the road. And on the other side of the road, there was the same girl who Kamlesh had seen at the petrol pump that day. And while standing at the red light, she was continuously looking at Kamlesh. Before he could see or think anything, the light turned green, and cars behind his bike started honking continuously. So he maneuvered his bike through the light, moved it forward a bit, and stopped. Then he looked back at the girl. But again, the girl was not there. She disappeared like smoke. After that, Kamlesh went to the other side of the road and looked around to see if the girl could be seen nearby. But the girl was nowhere to be found. Quietly, he returned to his bike, sat on it, and went back to his petrol pump. It was a very bad day for him. Since he arrived at the petrol pump all day, the same scene kept replaying in his mind over and over again. He was above the red light, and the girl was looking at him as if her eyes were pulling Kamlesh towards her, calling him. Today, for the first time, he made a mistake at work, and his manager scolded him. Then his mind shifted from there, and he completed his work throughout the day. Kamlesh couldn't understand how he would find that girl, where he would find her address. Kamlesh, after finishing his duty, was riding his bike back home. While lost in his thoughts, his bike halted again at the same red light. Then Kamlesh saw that girl again. This time, the girl whose lane his bike was in was standing right in front of him. She didn't waste a minute. Quickly, he parked his bike on the side and hurried towards the girl. He reached her and said, "Are you the one I saw at the petrol pump yesterday? You were looking at me, and this morning you were on the other side of the red light, right?" She replied, "Yes, I'm the one. Who are you?" "My name is Rashmi. I've seen you several times at that petrol pump, and I really like you. That day at the petrol pump, I came to talk to you." After that, hearing the girl's words, Kamlesh felt very happy inside. Afterward, Kamlesh said, "Since I've seen you, only you appear before my eyes. Your face keeps revolving in front of me. I can't understand what kind of magic have you cast on me. Who are you and where do you live?" So Rashmi says, "I live nearby." Then Kamlesh says, "Okay, can I get your phone number?" So Rashmi says, "No, I don't have a phone, but whenever you remember me from your heart, I will come to meet you." Then Kamlesh laughs and says, "This is getting a bit filmy, isn't it? It doesn't happen like this." Then Rashmi says, "When hearts connect, it happens like this. Try and see. We will meet again. I'm leaving now, bye." Saying this, she started walking away from there. First time, when she talked to Kamlesh, he also didn't know what to say. So Kamlesh turned around and started walking towards his bike. And as soon as he reached near his bike, he turned back and looked around. Then he saw that the girl was completely gone from there. Absolutely. She was walking straight on the road. There was no turn in the road, no place to hide anywhere. It was a completely clean road. Just Kamlesh had walked 4 or 5 steps just to turn around and see her, and the girl was gone from there, and Kamlesh couldn't understand. Where did she suddenly go? Anyway, he didn't think much because he was secretly very happy. Because the girl he had been thinking about for 2 days, she herself wants to meet him, wants to talk to him. Then he took his bike and joyfully rode it back to his room. After having dinner, he lay on his bed in his room, thinking about the events of the day. Suddenly, he remembered something Rashmi had said. "If you remember me from the heart, I will definitely come to meet you." He closed his eyes and began thinking about Rashmi. It might have been 1 or 2 minutes since he closed his eyes when he heard a knock on his door. He quickly opened his eyes, checked the time. It was 10 p.m. Kamlesh was startled, wondering if something was true, if Rashmi was at the gate. There was a different kind of excitement in his mind. He hurriedly went to the door and, with great hope, opened the gate, and as soon as he opened it, he saw both of his friends standing there. Then Kamlesh said, "You guys are here. Who else is coming at this time of night? And that too, so late." Then he said, "You don't even have a girlfriend?" So Kamlesh replied, "What's the matter?" Then his friend said, "I mean, it's been so long since we last met." So Kamlesh said, "Yes, come in and sit." So they sat there for about an hour and then they left. After they left, Kamlesh closed the door and came back to lie down on his bed. Just then, there was another knock on his door. He checked his watch again. It was just about to strike 11. He opened the gate and saw, his eyes widened in shock. Rashmi was standing just outside his gate. He rubbed his eyes again and looked again, asking, "Rashmi, is that you? What are you doing here so late?" Rashmi replied, "I told you whenever you think of me from the heart, I'll come." Kamlesh said, "Yes, but how did you leave your house so late at night?" So Rashmi explained, "Her room has a window that opens to the backside of their house, and she came out from there to here." Then Kamlesh said, "That's all fine, but how did you manage to come to my room from so far away? Who gave you my room's address?" So Rashmi said, "Why do you ask so many questions? Couldn't you just ask me to come in?" So Kamlesh stepped aside a bit, and she came in. Kamlesh closed the gate and turned back to Rashmi, saying, "I can't believe you came from your house to here at this time." So Rashmi said, "I told you that whenever you remember me from your heart, I will come here." Then Kamlesh said, "But one thing is not making sense to me at all. How did you know that I remembered you? And how did you come here from so far away? So Rashmi said, "Oh no, you ask too many questions. Come, sit down." Then they started talking, and the night passed. Kamlesh fell asleep, and he didn't notice. When Kamlesh woke up in the morning, there was no one in his room. So Kamlesh got up and looked around, then went out of the gate. The gate was open, meaning Rashmi had already left from there. It didn't make sense to him. Why Rashmi left without telling me, I couldn't understand. Then I thought maybe she had to leave on time. But she could have woken me up too. I could have dropped her off there and come back. Many questions were swirling in her mind. Anyway, last night something unexpected happened for him, and he was very happy when he reached his work. So throughout the day, these questions kept running in her mind why she didn't wake me up. I could have dropped her off. She thought if she comes today, I will ask her all these questions. Then Kamlesh reached home and impatiently started waiting for Rashmi. Around that time, meaning around 11 p.m., Rashmi came to his room. So Kamlesh took Rashmi inside the room and started asking, "How did you leave without telling me yesterday? I could have dropped you home." So Rashmi said, "You were sleeping, so I didn't want to disturb you. And one more thing, I want to make it clear that I can't even take you near my home because my family is very strict. And if they even get a hint that I meet you, they won't spare you alive. And I don't want to lose you again." So Kamlesh says, "Again, what do you mean?" So Rashmi says, "Oh, how many questions do you ask? You've set fire to your questions. Look, if you ask me any other question, I'll never come to meet you again." So Kamlesh thought Rashmi is serious. What she said last time turned out to be very true. So Kamlesh said, Okay, fine. I won't ask you any more questions. But when you feel okay, you'll have to tell me everything." She said, "Okay." And after that, this series began. Every day, Rashmi would come to him around 11 o'clock at night and leave before morning. Every day, Kamlesh would sleep thinking he would wake up in the morning and definitely get see of Rashmi, but it didn't happen. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't wake up in the morning. It felt like someone was drugging him to sleep. And by the time he woke up in the morning, Rashmi would have already left. He didn't know anything about Rashmi, where she lived, what she did, who was in her family, but she would come to meet Kamlesh every day without fail. Kamlesh was very happy with his life. This continued for 3 to 4 months, and since Rashmi came into his life started to turn around. He had an old case pending for the last 10 years, which was not getting resolved. Within 2 months of Rashmi's arrival, that case got resolved, and Kamlesh got his share of land. Kamlesh, who was preparing for government exams, got selected in all the government exams he appeared for during these 3 to 4 months. While previously he had no job, now he had options from 2 to 3 jobs, and now he began to live very happily. He understood that Rashmi was very lucky for him. He became very attached to her, so much so that he started loving her a lot. And now it was time for him to leave his job at the petrol pump because in the coming 25 days, he had to prepare for his interviews and skills. And after the interview, his dream was to get his government job, which was also about to come true. So when he reached the petrol pump, he told his friends working there, "Guys, I've got my government job. I'm leaving this petrol pump job. I've been selected for my government job and I just have my interview left, which I'll clear. And then I'll also become a government officer." So his friend said, "Dude, we've been watching you for the past 3 to 4 months, and you've completely changed. You're running very fast in your life. What have you done, buddy? Have you found some magic wand? There's something you're hiding from us." So Kamlesh was very open-hearted, and he said, "Dude, a girl has come into my life, and ever since she came, even I don't know what magic has happened. Everything is getting better. Maybe she's my good luck charm." Then Kamlesh's friend said, "All right, won't you introduce us to your sister-in-law?" So Kamlesh says, "Dude, she's a very timid type. She doesn't want to come in front of anyone in this matter." So the friend says, "Bro, just show us a photo." So Kamlesh says, There isn't even a photo. So the friend says, "Are you kidding, buddy? It's been so many months, not even a photo. Now, brother, whatever happens, we have to see the sister-in-law." Then all the friends got together and made a plan. Kamlesh said, "Okay, fine. She will come to my room tonight. You guys hide around my room, meaning outside the room." And that's what happened. The friends hid behind a wall outside the room so that no one could see them. Rashmi usually comes around 11 o'clock, so around 10:45, they went and hid behind the wall, and they were hidden in such a way that no one could see them. Then the friends saw Kamlesh open the gate. He stood outside the room after opening the gate and seemed as if he was talking to someone, but only Kamlesh was visible to the friends sitting there. It seemed like he was talking to someone in the air. No one else was visible there. Kamlesh knew where they were hiding. Once he glanced at his friends and started talking to Rashmi again, and then he moved aside a bit, indicating someone to go inside. After that, when he started closing the gate of his house, he extended his hand outside the gate, gave a thumbs up to his friends, and then closed the gate. Both friends were shocked to see each other and started talking. Who was Kamlesh talking to? So one friend said, "It seemed like he was talking to someone, but no one was there. Has Kamlesh gone mad? Shall we talk to Kamlesh about this matter tomorrow?" So they quietly left from there because they were nervous and didn't go to Kamlesh's room. They saw him talking to someone. They also understood that he might be seeing something that they couldn't. They thought it wasn't worth the risk. They reached their home and went to sleep. The next day when Kamlesh came to their room, he was very happy and said, "How did you like your sister-in-law?" So the friend said, "Have you gone mad? There was no one there, and you were talking to thin air. No one came to your room yesterday. Is your mind okay?" Kamlesh thought they were making a fool out of him, so he said, "Guys, you don't believe this, do you? Do you think my girlfriend can't exist?" So his friend said, "No, bro, we don't think like that. Yesterday we were standing there and we didn't see anything. You were there alone talking to someone in the air." Now, you know he thought his friends were making him crazy, so he said, "All right, do one thing, hide in my room today, and when Rashmi comes in, you see her and stay quiet." So his friends hid in the room. As soon as it was time for Rashmi to come, there was a knock on his room's door. Everyone heard the door knock. Kamlesh went and opened the gate, and as soon as he opened it, he signaled to his friends. Again, only Kamlesh was visible to his friends inside the room, but as soon as she entered the room, everything was clear to her. So she said, "Finally, did you call your friends? I don't want to meet anyone, but you can't even do this much for me." Upon hearing this, Kamlesh's mind went haywire trying to figure it out. So Kamlesh says, No, I called them because they wanted to meet you. I had no idea you would get so angry. And now those people will never come here again." So Kamlesh tells his friends, "Both of you get out. What are you hiding now?" Both friends quietly leave in fear. They were watching Kamlesh. Kamlesh was saying, "Rashmi, forgive these two. They will never come here again, and I will never say anything to you." So the friends say, "Brother, who are you talking to? Who are you speaking to? No one is here." Such questions were running in front of his eyes. "What happened to you? Are you okay?" So Kamlesh says, "Is Rashmi standing in front?" So the friends say, "No one is standing in front." So Kamlesh looks at his friends and says, "Is she standing there, dude?" Then he looks back at Rashmi, but she wasn't there. Rashmi had disappeared from there. And now Kamlesh also began to understand things, why Rashmi didn't want to meet anyone. So Kamlesh told his friends, "Guys, I won't stay here alone anymore. I'll go with you." So they closed the room, and after that, Kamlesh went to their room with both of them. He didn't come to the room for the next 2-3 days. He was very worried. Now he wasn't even remembering Rashmi because he was scared. When his friends try to call him, they say, "Bro, she might not have been a human, surely some spirit or ghost. So do one thing, get some rituals done, and go back home for a few days. So Kamlesh got some rituals done, and after that, he packed all his belongings from the room and went straight to his village. So a few days later, when Kamlesh's friends called his house to inquire about his well-being, they found out that Kamlesh had died. So that was Kamlesh's story. So what is your opinion on this story? Be sure to comment in the comment box. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to hear more interesting stories. Thank you.